The morning in the View studio unfolded with its usual buzz, stagehands rolling cables, makeup artists darting from one co-host to the next, producers clutching clipboards like shields as they whispered updates into headsets. But beneath the routine hum, there was something else threading through the air, an almost tangible tension, subtle but unmistakable. The audience filed in with the excited chatter that always preceded a celebrity guest, and today's guest had people especially animated. Jelly Roll wasn't just another singer or actor doing a promo circuit. He was a phenomenon, an artist who had clawed his way from rock bottom to the top of the charts, winning hearts with his authenticity and stories of resilience. He walked onto the set with a gentle wave, smiling at the crowd like he was greeting old friends. A few audience members shouted his name, others stood to clap, and he gave each section a nod of gratitude. His presence was disarming, big, tattooed, intimidating in silhouette but softened by the warmth in his eyes and the softness of his voice. He slid into his seat beside the co-hosts, settling in like he'd been there 100 times. Most of the table was genuinely happy to have him. Sarah's smile stretched ear to ear. Sonny complimented his latest charity work off camera. Alyssa gushed about a song of his that helped her through a rough month. And Whoopi, leaning back in her chair with that easy calm of someone who's seen everything, gave him a slow grin. But then there was Joy. Joy Behar crossed her arms before the show even started, tapping her pen against the table in a restless rhythm. She'd had moments like this, days when she walked in prickly, ready to spar. Producers whispered that she was in a mood. Camera operators exchanged looks, bracing for whatever might come. Jelly Roll didn't notice at first. He was too busy appreciating the crowd and giving a final wave. Then Joy looked up at him. Her eyes locked onto him with a kind of razor-sharp scrutiny, like she was flipping through a mental file of every controversial headline he'd ever been attached to. He caught her look, offered a polite nod. She didn't return it. When the theme music kicked in and the women welcomed viewers to the show, the first segment rolled by smoothly. They laughed, debated, teased one another as usual. Jelly Roll chimed in here and there, surprising the audience with how articulate and tender he was in discussing addiction recovery and community support. People in the front row nodded along. The vibe was light, until it wasn't. The show transitioned to the next topic, second chances in America. The graphic flashed across the screen, upbeat music playing as the camera panned back to the table. Well, Whoopi began, we've got someone here who knows a thing or two about second chances. Jelly Roll, your story's one of the most inspiring out there. Jelly Roll smiled humbly. I appreciate that. Joy leaned in then, pen tapping again. So, Jelly Roll, she said, dragging his name out like a challenge, do you really think everyone deserves a second chance, or is that just something celebrities say to make themselves look good after getting in trouble? The air shifted. A ripple of discomfort swept across the stage. Sonny's eyes flicked sideways. Sarah stopped mid-breath. Even the audience let out a few nervous laughs, unsure if Joy was joking or simply being Joy. Jelly Roll straightened, his expression calm. Well, Joy, he said slowly, I'm somebody who needed more than one second chance. I needed 100, and if I can get those, I believe anybody can. Joy smirked, the kind of smirk that said not good enough. Yes, we've heard your story. Jail time, drug problems, the whole redemption arc. But don't you think there are folks who take advantage of that idea? Isn't it convenient for celebrities to talk about forgiveness after they've hit it big? A shock seemed to pulse through the room. Jelly Roll's jaw tensed for half a second before he relaxed it again. He wasn't offended easily, but he wasn't made of stone either. I'm not talking about celebrities, he said. I'm talking about people who've made mistakes and are trying to do better. People working jobs they hate, people raising kids on their own, people who feel like they got nothing but one more day to try again. Joy waved her hand dismissively. Easy to say when you're famous now. When the world gives you applause for just existing. That landed harshly, too harshly. Even the cameraman behind the lens flinched. Whoopi gave Joy a look that practically shouted, "Girl, stop." But Joy was on a roll now. Some people don't get grace, Jelly Roll. They face consequences. They stay in them. They don't get record deals out of their past. Jelly Roll returned her stare evenly. Joy, I paid my consequences. Years of them. I didn't walk out of jail and get handed a career. I worked for everything I have. And redemption isn't a chore to me. It's a choice you make every day, not a PR strategy. The audience applauded, some cheering. Joy didn't even blink. Oh please, she said. You're acting like you've been treated unfairly. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice steady but sharpened by a new edge. You're talking about fairness like you've never needed forgiveness yourself. Joy stiffened. Jelly Roll continued, each sentence landing like a carefully guided arrow. You've said wild things on this show for decades. Stuff that got you in trouble, stuff that got this show in trouble. And yet you're still here. You got second chances again and again. So why shouldn't other people? The silence that followed was unlike anything the studio had ever experienced, heavy, stunned, electric. The moment the red camera light blinked off and the broadcast cut to commercial, Joy Behar shot up from her chair with such force that her mug nearly toppled over. A makeup artist scrambled out of her way as she stormed toward the backstage corridor, her heels striking the floor in sharp, furious clicks that echoed through the studio like warning shots. The crew scattered instinctively. They had seen Joy irritated, they had seen her annoyed, but this was something else entirely. Her shoulders were rigid, her jaw clenched so tightly a muscle twitched beneath her cheek. You've got to be kidding me, she hissed to no one and everyone at once, yanking the mic pack from her waistband. It snagged on her shirt, ripping a seam, which only made her angrier. Get this thing off me. A startled audio tech rushed forward and fumbled with the clips, his hands trembling. Joy swatted his fingers away. Never mind, I'll do it myself. The mic hit the floor with a metallic crack. Inside the studio, Jelly Roll sat very still. The cheering from the audience had faded, replaced with a stunned silence. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't even smiling. His face carried a mix of regret and resolve. He had spoken truth, but he hadn't intended to break anything, or anyone. Whoopi walked over, settling a hand on his shoulder with a steadying weight. You good? She asked quietly. He nodded, though the tension in his shoulders suggested otherwise. Didn't mean for it to go like that, he said. She pushed me. Whoopi let out a breath. Baby, she pushes everybody. But she ain't used to someone pushing back. She looked toward the wings, where Joy's storm cloud had disappeared. Especially not like that. Behind cameras, producers whispered urgently, some already drafting statements in their heads, others thinking about the inevitable social media explosion. Phones buzzed, assistants paced, everything felt off kilter. When the commercial break ended, the show had no choice but to return. The overhead lights hummed back to full brightness, illuminating a table with one seat conspicuously empty. Sunny shuffled her note cards a little too loudly. Sarah blinked down at her mug, pretending the sudden tension didn't feel like a live wire wrapped around the table's legs. Alyssa's smile was frozen in place, a brittle mask. Whoopi cleared her throat. Welcome back, she said slowly, clearly improvising. Joy's taking a moment. Her voice carried the practiced calm of someone who had hosted long enough to handle hurricanes. Jelly Roll adjusted his jacket awkwardly as the segment limped forward. Every camera angle seemed to avoid the glaring absence to his right. As soon as the taping wrapped, and far sooner than usual, the audience was ushered out. Some lingered, hoping for glimpses of the drama unfolding, but security waved them along briskly. Behind the scenes, chaos erupted in hushed tones. Joy paced inside the green room like a trapped panther, flinging her hands as she complained. This is ridiculous. I was ambushed. On my own show. Her voice cracked with rage. Does anyone even care how disrespectful that was? 3 producers stood with the cautious posture of people handling explosives. The senior producer, a woman who'd worked with Joy for 15 years, tried to keep her voice even. Joy, no one ambushed you. You asked aggressive questions, he responded. Joy spun around so quickly the producer flinched. Don't talk to me like I'm some intern. I know how this show works. You should have cut to commercial earlier. We cut the second we could, the producer replied. But Joy, you escalated the segment. Joy scoffed, her face twisting with disbelief. Unbelievable. I'm being blamed now. Before anyone could respond, the door creaked open. Jelly Roll stepped inside with the hesitant manner of a man entering a minefield. His presence sucked the air from the room. Joy turned toward him like she'd been waiting for a target. Oh, look, she said, voice dripping with sarcasm, Mr. Redemption himself. Jelly Roll stopped a few feet away, hands tucked into the pockets of his jacket. He wasn't defensive, nor smug. Just steady. Joy, he said softly. I wanted to come back here and say. She cut him off. Save it. I'm not interested in a lecture off camera too. He shook his head. I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to explain. Joy let out a harsh laugh. Explain. You embarrassed me in front of millions. You made me look weak. Jelly Roll's expression softened, but his voice didn't waver. I didn't make you look weak, ma'am. I answered your question. You asked me if I believed in second chances. I told you the truth. Joy crossed her arms tightly over her chest, as if shielding herself. You attacked my career. No, he replied, stepping 1 inch closer. I told you that second chances matter.